All right, we are back for this review on Mom's Progress, initial first regular review, and we have had her join us. So, ma'am, can we have your name for the record?
Ladon Hardman.
Thank you. Ms. Heiss.
Thank you, Your Honor. I had the pleasure of meeting this little boy, and he is just adorable, happy, full of life, full of energy. I met him at his placement, which is Ladon's older sister, Tremaine, and in Ida. And she must have 10 acres there in a very quiet neighborhood and a big, spacious home. And Tremaine has an older boy who I think is nice, and our little boy looks up to that other little boy, and all of his needs are being met at this placement. And Mom was offered visits to go there, and she had been going there, but they haven't seen her in a while. And we know from our report that she's had some positive screens, and I really encourage her to get right back on track. Employment and housing are weak spots again where they had been strengths, but I know she can get it together. And I just need to say that the family believes she needs inpatient, inpatient treatment at an appropriate place, not an inpatient that's not appropriate. In the appropriate place, she could really get help. She could really set up a whole life. But I know there's a lot of trauma in her past. I read all about that, and it's got to be really difficult. But anyway, the child is doing well. Thank you.
Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. If Ms. Pelham can please be sworn in to provide her report. Thank you. Ms. Pelham, we have a court report in front of us today that you prepared. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And included with the court report is a case service plan, 2 drug screens, 2 community mental health documents, 1 for mom, 1 for child, and then a Catholic Charities substance abuse monthly update. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And are there any updates or modifications that need to be made to your report or any of the attached documents?
The only update that I have is we did get back the trauma screen, or the trauma assessment and the bonding assessment for mom and the little one, and it actually came back very positive. Mom is a very good mom, and they have a really good bond, and little one does definitely respect his mom.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Currently, well, during this period, were there any changes to the initial case service plan that the court ordered back in January?
No changes.
Okay. And during this review period, were you able to meet with mom to discuss the case service plan and what is expected of her?
Yes.
How would you describe her level of compliance with and benefit from the case service plan?
At this time, not very good. She's definitely been struggling with a lot of things, losing her job, and her housing's on the line. And she came in here today and said she got into a car accident, so she's had a lot going on, but she has not been very compliant with the case service plan.
I think you did okay.
Have you discussed with her any barriers that might be impeding her compliance with the case service plan?
One of the barriers she and I talked about was the substance abuse treatment. She really struggles with that. She states that it's a really big trigger for her to talk about substances in general. So I did ask her to reach out to CMH and just get into talk therapy at least, and I don't believe that she's done that yet.
The child is, as Ms. Heiss reported, still in a relative placement, correct?
Correct.
And do you believe that that's the least restrictive environment to ensure his safety at this time?
Absolutely.
What would be the risk of harm to him if the court were to return him to mom today?
The risk of harm would be continued positive drug screens, lack of employment at this point, and unstable housing.
Have you, during this review period, assisted in making any referrals for those barriers or like the risks of harm and the barriers to reunification?
Yes, I've made referrals to CMH, and they made a referral to Catholic Charities. I made referrals to Housing Help and provided her drug screens every time we see each other.
As it relates to drug screens, those are only being done very sporadic when you are able to meet her. Is that correct?
Typically about once a month, yeah.
Is there a need to increase that screening protocol and maybe like at LDC and do it more frequently?
I think that would probably be beneficial, yes.
One of the things the court considers when it comes to substance use is whether the substance use interferes with one's ability to parent and the safety of the child. Are you familiar what caused the child to come into care?
I am.
And do you feel that substances do interfere with her ability to parent at this time?
At this time, yes.
Is there anything from your court report that you would like to highlight for the court's attention?
No.
The services that the child is receiving, how would you say that those are going?
Right now it's pretty slow. He is on a wait list for counseling at CMH through Monroe, and that is taking some time. We are trying to find other places for him to go, but it's really, really difficult right now as everyone kind of needs counseling. But the school is providing some services to him as well, and he's doing well in school.
Okay. The report that we have from CMH in our court report regarding mom, what service is she receiving at CMH?
That was for her substance abuse intake, so she could be referred out to Catholic Charities for actual services.
And Catholic Charities indicates that despite several attempts to reach out, she has not returned any of the calls?
That's correct.
You called today?
You'll have a chance to testify.
Okay, Your Honor, with that, I have no further questions and move to admit the court report with the attachments.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you. They are received. Cross-examination, Ms. Berger.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Heiss.
The child's ADHD will be assessed for
Yes.
ADHD?
Yep, so in our trauma assessment, one of the recommendations that we received was to get him tested for ADHD, so that is the plan.
Did you get a screen on mom at the time of the CTAC evaluation?
No.
No.
Thank you, nothing further.
Thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat. Anyone else you'd like us to hear from, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Berger?
Yes, Your Honor, my client would like to testify.
All right, Ms. Hartnett, come on up to our.
Whose phone's going off?
Yeah, if we could
Can you
silence
silence the phone, please, whoever it is?
All right, well, just make everybody just double check.
My phone is loud, though, if it does make noise. I apologize.
Thank you for checking.
That's the one.
It goes off so much. I don't.
Shut it off if you would.
Hardly.
If you can do that, please.
Get a nice clean seat.
I don't know, I haven't looked at mine either. All right.
It's probably mine.
Go ahead with any questions you have, Ms. Berger.
LaDawn, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. You had made some comments a little bit ago about your thoughts on your progress in your case plan.
Yes. I recently did speak to HR in my employment. I was discriminated against. I've been really dealing with this situation for quite some time. It's really beaten me up spiritually and mentally, so that was kind of a contributor to my issues. But they said that I'm still employed and that I can choose to go to another branch.
Okay. Do you plan to do that?
Also talked to the LEAC, the Housing Help, and they want to move my Section 8 to another state. I don't know how that works with children and all of that jazz, but definitely it might be good for change of scenery for me and my young one.
Okay. Do you plan to go to a different branch for your job?
Yes.
Where at?
Very much so, because I'm a good cook and I did well. So
Where's that
I was thinking Battle Creek, but I haven't applied yet or anything, so nothing's set in stone. I just filed my complaints on Friday. So
Okay. And where else would you be exploring your housing?
Texas.
Okay. Is that something that you're looking at immediate or down the road?
I have to be out of my house by the 30th, so I'm looking at all options, not just leaving the state, because I have 2 boys, I don't just have one, and I have a good relationship with.
Okay. And what other services have you engaged in?
Other than that, I did speak to the Catholic. I was supposed to have my therapy today, and I forgot because of coming to court. But
okay, so you've touched base with Catholic Charities?
Yes.
Okay. And are you going to be rescheduling that appointment?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, but she's only available on Wednesdays, and because of my schedule, she stays until 3:30. But no, it's 3:30, so, or 3. So.
Okay. And do you have any problem if the agency wants to increase the frequency of your drug screens?
I'm paying for it because I know it's expensive. She sent me all the way to Battle Creek for nothing because I went there to a wrong address. I don't know how that happened, but it makes me seem a little bit irresponsible, and I don't really appreciate it. So
is that for your psych evaluation?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that rescheduled?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in, where was it? It was closer than Battle Creek.
Okay. And have you worked with CMH?
No, I have not.
Okay. Are you?
No, well, they want to put me on the medicine, and I'm not good with it, honestly. It's just, I don't know. And I want to sound funny with drugs, so it's really defeating my purpose.
Okay. What medications do they want you on?
Zoloft, Abilify, Effexor, a bunch of different ones, like 5 or 6 different ones. A lot.
Okay. And are you taking any of those right now?
I'll take the Zoloft.
Okay. And is that prescribed through CMH?
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. Through Dr. Tahira.
Is there anything else that you want to add today?
Give me my baby back. This is really put a big monkey wrench in my life. And all I do is revolve around my kids. Despite what happened, I was trying to stay awake. I had a lot of home issues going on with someone invading my home, and I finally found out that it was the maintenance man that's been maintenance in my apartment. He's been doing some really funny stuff, so it's kind of hard to stay awake so long to try to protect your little ones when somebody is, just knocking on your doors and just doing a lot of crazy things. I don't know.
Okay. I don't have any more questions for you, but some of the other attorneys might. Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Thomas, any questions?
Not at this time.
Ms. Heiss?
Are you saying that the incident that the little guy saw wasn't an overdose? You're saying today that it was you were asleep?
No, I didn't say that at all. No, I accept full responsibility. Someone tried to kill me. It wasn't like, okay, so whatever. And it was my fault. I can accept that. The first step in real recovery is accountability. It's a hard thing to do, but that's where it is. It was my fault. And I apologize, but I'm not a bad parent.
No, it sounds like the evaluation. Do you recall having an evaluation with Sam?
Yes, I do.
Sounds like you did really well on that.
I'm not a bad parent. I really made a mistake. I really can't say anything other than it was just an honest mistake.
LaDon, when's the last time you used cocaine?
2 weeks ago.
You're not using anything today?
No.
Take your Zoloft?
No.
What is your barrier to doing visits with Sam?
I don't have any barriers right this second because I usually go on Saturdays, but I'm really trying to figure out where I'm gonna stay. It's kind of rough right now with the, and my job. I just found out that I didn't know that I had a job, so I've been job searching, but I just trying to figure things out. It's a little hard for me to juggle more than.
Has it been about 3 weeks since you visited?
Exactly.
And do you think he's in good care with Tremaine?
I know he's in good care.
Have you been out to the house where she lives?
I know where she stays, and yes, I have.
You think all his needs are being met there?
Yeah, I do. I know they are. He's safe and in a good place. And you guys said that this was my time to figure out what's going on. And right now, I'm really trying to figure out because I've struggled for 2 years to try to put things together. And I don't have a strong family system. I don't have money, and it's just hard to do all of these things at once without help. You
had a bad experience with inpatient treatment in the past, right?
Yes.
Would you be willing to look at or view another treatment facility?
No, I don't want to go. All you meet is users. You don't meet. We're not supposed to meet somebody like her or you or somebody that's doing something normal going to the same places they go.
What do you think would help you?
It's my child being home. I have a very good relationship with him, and talking to him and letting him know how my day went on at work, and him communicating what went on at school is really important. The day that everything happened, I had a break from work. I get nice breaks and stuff. I was lost without my job because it gives me a sense of structure, us really, and I just didn't. I had a lot of free time, so I'm just not. I just liked my job so much that I didn't plan for having free time.
Your solution to your drug problem is just having Sam back home?
Right now, I would give anything to have him home because him and my older boy are all I have.
But you don't have the home is up in the air right now as of April 30th, right?
I can figure that out tomorrow if my son came home.
Well, we got to figure out how to help you with your substance abuse.
If y'all gave him back tomorrow, I would be done. I probably wouldn't touch another one again. I might drink a little bit, but that's legal.
The deal. You got to get well first.
How?
I don't know.
If you ever been through the stuff that I've been through, raped, hit, I just was hit not too long ago for no reason. And things like this, it changes you completely. I don't know how to deal with these changes. I was strangled.
Okay, will you keep going to your counselor and getting some answers?
That lady told me some shit about drugs. I don't want to talk about that. This is something I'm trying to get over, not continue to go through.
Yeah, you want to talk about the trauma you've been through, it sounds like.
No, I want to talk about what I went through at work and why that lady is abusing me and talking to me so disrespectful and making me hate my skin color. That's what's my problem. I'm sorry that I fucked up and used drugs, and I know it's messed up, but it really hurts when people bash you and beat you so low that you just don't know what to do, it was a really hard thing to deal with. This lady, she was just very mean, and some people just don't understand how bad it hurts to wake up every morning and feel low, but
okay, well, you've got resources to help you now. Now's the time.
That lady told me she just like you, like nice cookie cutter white lady, and I don't mean to say nothing, but I told her that my boss made me so mad I wanted to punch her in the face, and it was just a statement, because you said this was counseling, and she said you can't say that. I'm in counseling. I didn't go punch the lady in the face, did I? I should be able to speak freely, I think, in counseling, and she's not allowing me to do that. And then all she wanted to do was talk about drugs. And then she was like, when are you gonna go get high? The fuck? I'm gonna, what do you mean? That's a crazy question. She just really put me in a stupor. That's just not the type of things you do to people that are trying to recover.
But you're not gonna give up? You're gonna keep trying the services?
No, well, yeah, I'm gonna keep trying. They told me to get another counselor. I like the lady, and I'm glad she was upfront about it. And yeah, I mean, yes, it's hard to talk about drugs. It's hard to do it, of course, and it's something that I'm gonna have to get used to. I was playing for 4 years, but when I came back here, it just all came back. All of the people that know me know my twin sister is a user. She's been a user since we were young. And
where were you living when you were clean for 4 years?
I was in Cleveland. I was in Delaware. I was not here.
Okay, that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you.
Any redirect?
You plan to continue trying services?
Yeah, something is gonna work eventually.
Okay. And do you want to find a new counselor?
I'll go back to her one more time, and I don't know, because the whole situation is just it's messed up.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I'm gonna keep trying.
Okay. Anything else you want to say today? Okay.
We read across, Ms. Thomas?
No, Judge, thank you.
Ms. Heiss?
No, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. May return to your seat. Be careful on that step. Anyone else you'd like to hear from?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Heiss?
No witnesses today. Thank you.
All right then. Comments in closing, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Berger?
Thank you, Judge. We are asking for another 90-day review, just to allow some more time for my client to work through services and hopefully come to terms with the current therapist, if not find a new one.
Ms. Heiss?
No closing. Thank you.
All right, the court finds all interested parties are given notice for purposes of today's review hearing. I have listened to the testimony of our caseworker, and I do find that along with the exhibits that were received in the court report, do constitute reasonable efforts towards the goal of reunification in this case. Thank you also to Ms. Heiss for her efforts as guardian ad litem, and of course to our advocates.
I have a question. She's
if
never
you could
seen me in parent mode, so how can she say I'm a bad parent?
Okay, Ms. Hartnett, the time for
I'm sorry, I just
testify,
had a question, that was all.
Thank you. You're welcome to take it up with Ms. Berger after today's hearing. All right. Reasonable efforts towards reunification are being made. There are services in place and service offerings. At this time, the child is in the safest and least restrictive environment. He is very well bonded with his aunt, doing well there. Hopefully he'll be able to continue visiting and communicating with his mother, who is a resource for him, as we've heard today. And they have a good bond there. We'll look for Ms. Hardnett to make some headway on her services in the next report period. I look forward to hearing about what's happening with employment and housing and engagement in those services that are necessary for her to be able to make some progress and overcome some of those barriers that were identified at the outset and also reviewed today. In the meantime, I do find that her son will remain in the relative placement pending further progress in those particular areas. And I wish her the best of luck in that pursuit. We'll have our next review, which will also be a permanency planning hearing. The child's been removed since January of this year, and it will be time to look at permanency in June. That will be 6 months that he has been outside of the home of his mother, and we'll have to look at what that will mean for him moving forward. So our next review and permanency planning hearing will be June 11th at 10 o'clock in the morning. Unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll have this,
Have a wonderful day.
okay, the court received a petition today asking to remove one of the parents from the home and for jurisdiction over both parents and the children. So it's been asked that I make that decision on an emergent basis. So we've convened this afternoon in order to look at those requests. We've made some time for the attorneys to talk to their respective clients, and I'm looking forward to the updates. We did have a brief sidebar as well, during which the attorneys had some comments, and I'll let them address those on the record after appearances.
Lee Heiss, lawyer guardian ad litem.
Ms. Saja Thomas, counsel for the department. Ms. Trout.
Hannah Trout with the department.
Ariel Berger.
Michael Brooks, I represent the father in this matter, Joshua Branham.
Joshua Brown.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Ariel Berger here on behalf of Mother Cynthia Knapp.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right, comments about the sidebar? Let's start with Ms. Heiss.
Your Honor, I think that the plan is to get through a prelim or at least an emergency temporary order on placing the children, and then a full prelim could be set for another day and adjudication trial. Thank you.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes, we discussed the issue of notice and whether it was sufficient or not. But I think that it's probably best described by Mr. Brooks. It's my understanding that there may be a potential plea from mom, and then we move forward on the preliminary side for dad today.
Mr. Brooks?
Well, as counsel said in our sidebar, there's no requirement of notice, and that's exactly what we got. No notice at all. This came to my office at 6:45 last night. I found out about it after I came back from this court this morning at about 10 after 12. I met my client on Zoom, says he was served, as it kind of supported by the notes on the email, that they intended to serve him this morning, which he tells me he got this morning. He doesn't understand any of it. He has his own private attorney. He wants to use them, and I want him to have them. So I'm asking that this hearing be adjourned.
Did you have any comments on the sidebar?
Yes, Your Honor. I do believe that the other attorneys have accurately summed that up. I was able to talk to my client a little bit more after that. And I did think we were in a position to enter a plea today, but if we are just hearing it on an emergent basis and can have a full prelim later, I think she would prefer that, just to give her a little bit more time to work through the petition and some more time to counsel with me.
Very well. Well, I think that there is at least one issue that has to be made on an emergent basis, which is whether or not one of the parents should be removed from the home. Is that right, Ms. Thomas?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, but otherwise, for all other intents and purposes, I would be happy to look for some time to give the parents an extension of looking at the petition to get ready for a prelim. My hesitation is I know Ms. Thomas is out next week. Do you have anybody that could cover for you by any chance, Ms. Thomas, on this if we adjourn the prelim to next week?
Your Honor, I know that typically I would ask Mr. Amadeo, and I know that he is also traveling this week. I don't know when he gets back. I can ask Mr. Tipton as well, but I think those would be my only two options.
Yes, my concern is I could try, I certainly don't have anything Friday. I have a trial all day then. I have a lot of hearings scheduled for tomorrow, similarly to what we're dealing with today, and that's not really much of an extension. Monday is packed, and I know you're gone the rest of the week. The following week, on the 22nd, I have a jury trial. On the 23rd is already a packed day. So, and it's packed with hearings that you'll be part of. Or if we really want to push it, I can put it at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, April 23rd. And that would be our fourth one, with all four cases that morning, which is usually a little more than we like to tackle, but that's the best I can do within the next 14 days.
On the 23rd?
At 8.
We have a case in front of Angelo, and I believe.
At 8?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know that. Mark that down. Okay, so what I can do is try to find some time that works for the rest of the attorneys and see, Ms. Thomas, you can try to see if one of your other counsel would be able to appear. Are you comfortable with that? What are your thoughts?
That's fine. And if, Your Honor, if I absolutely have to, I can appear via Zoom. I just am not, as I'm traveling today, set up, but next week's travel, I will not. But I can, with enough putting it in my brain, I can hopefully be prepared to take that on if need be.
I'm sorry, it broke up a little bit during the first part of what you were saying.
In short, I'll figure it out, yes.
Okay, thank you, we appreciate that. So next week, what I have available would be 1:30 on Tuesday, the 16th in the afternoon. Actually, I have 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or 1:30. I know Ms. Berger's schedule sometimes.
Any of those work? Actually, 1:30 does not make that.
All right, so we can go to the morning. Or I have, actually on Wednesday, the 17th, I have 11 a.m. if anybody wants that.
No, you can't.
Apparently I can't, Your Honor.
So the 16th at 10 o'clock, will that work?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so April 16th at 10 o'clock.
April 15th.
No, who is it?
16th, Tuesday, that 1/6, 16th. All right, there are a few things that we do have to get through this morning. I have some preliminary questions for the parents as well, that I think should be fine. And then we'll give you the adjournment to further review the petition as well as to secure private counsel if you so choose. Deputy Ames, would you please swear in Cynthia Knapp and Joshua Graham? Ms. Knapp, have you been given a copy of the petition?
Yes.
All right. Are you aware of any other cases that concern your children, like child custody, support, guardianship, or anything like that? Okay. All right. You have the right to an attorney, which is why Ms. Berger is here. You have the right to retain your own attorney and the right to ask the department to prove the allegations by a probable cause standard. I'm sure you'll have more time to talk that through with Ms. Berger between now and when we come back. But please be aware we are happy to accommodate any request for trial. You would have the right to seek placement of your children at today's hearing, the right to admit or deny any of the allegations, and the right to have the petition read into the record. Ms. Berger, have you spoken with her about those rights, and can you confirm for us how she would like to proceed?
Ms. Knapp, have you been able to read the petition? Yes. And were we able to review it together? Yes. And do you need the judge to read that to you today? No. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. And we won't ask you to make the decision on a trial until we come back. You'll have some time to think about that between now and the 16th. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Brandon, would you mind coming to the podium? Thank you. I'm just going to go through the same questions that I went through with Ms. Knapp. Were you able to hear those questions?
Yes, I did.
Oh, yeah, be good. Did you receive a copy of the petition?
This morning, yes.
Good. I know that you've been able to talk with Mr. Brooks. You have the right to retain your own attorney. So you'll have until the 16th to do that, yes, and the right, of course, to request a trial at that time. Do you have any questions about your right to trial?
About the right to trial? No, not about the right to trial. About the domestic violence. I have court tomorrow. I don't even know what the charges are.
Well, be careful on what you tell me today, because one of the things I have to decide today is there's been a request to ask you to leave the house. So I have to make that decision today, and I don't want you to say anything that might compromise things for you in that respect without talking to Mr. Brooks first. We'll have him here for you today. We'll have him here on the 16th. If you find your own attorney that you want to retain, you'll have to have that person reach out to Mr. Brooks, and they'll do what's called a substitution, right? It makes pretty logical sense. And then Mr. Brooks will hand over everything to that attorney.
I already am not allowed at the house.
Oh, through the case?
Through the case that I have tomorrow. I'm new to all this. I don't, you look at my record, I'm 45 years old and in trouble. I got 3 grown other children. Not really understanding. And then I don't know if there was a police report made, but there's second allegations in here about domestic violence. I'm just not understanding any of it. So that's why I feel like I need to have my own lawyer.
Absolutely. We'll give you some time to work through that between now and the 16th. By court rule, I can give you up to 14 days on the prelim hearing. So that's why we were looking for something kind of close in there. But if you end up needing more time than that, I can talk to you. I
won't. Just the 2 hours. I was told at 11 o'clock about this and I served the papers, and I don't. I'm in the, I can't even have contact ocurrs, so I'm completely in the blind on what is going on. I have no idea. None.
Have you already made arrangements to stay somewhere else?
Yes, I have. I live in Romulus right now. I was told at 11 o'clock I had to rush here. I don't know.
Well, thank you for making the time to come down.
Well, my kids, absolutely. I've raised them, I've raised my kids.
Well, in light of that information, that sounds pretty safe there, Ms. Thomas, to use that key buzzword. What are your thoughts? And do you need to verify those bond conditions or the circumstances?
That's part of the allegations in the petition, Your Honor. With the parent no contact, there's concerns that it is not being followed, reports of Mr. Brown being in the home, and that is essentially why we did have to file when we did. And it's unverifiable, limited engagement from the parents with the department.
Right. All right, Mr. Branham, are you aware of any other cases like guardianship, child support, or anything else that would concern your children?
No.
All right, very good. So it sounds like the department still wants to go forward, asking me to make that decision as to whether or not to also order you out to the house. So that's I'll have to make that decision and the decision as to whether or not to authorize this particular petition this morning. All right. So you're welcome to have a seat. We'll have to make our way through that. Anything else before we get into it? All right. I will say, I warned all of you that I do have a probate docket as well. So I will ask you to accommodate a brief recess so I can take my 2 o'clock case, and then we'll come back on this one in just a few. We are back in this matter to proceed with the request for a court order and authorizing the petition for today. We have all of our same parties and attorneys back for the record. Ms. Thomas. And did you want to make any statement by way of opening?
Jen, I don't see Mr. Brooks.
I'll see if he's in the back, Your Honor.
Well, he was coming in by Zoom, so we might need to give a call to his office. 4057. All right, with the remaining questions to be answered for today as to whether or not to authorize the petition and issue the order to remove the parent from the home, we were ready to get started. Any opening comments on that point, Ms. Thomas?
I'll waive, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor. Your Honor, I would just like to say that I am unable to research under my court the criminal case that might have bond conditions in that situation, and because the case could be dismissed if there is a case which I can't, is not accessible to me. I think we need to proceed to remove a parent in this case. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Thomas, your first witness.
Your Honor, I will call Ms. Trout.
Right, there she is. I think. Proceed it will.
Thank you. Ms. Trout, can you please state your job title for the record?
I am a CPS investigator.
And as a CPS investigator, what does your job entail?
We received allegations of abuse or neglect regarding children, and it is my job to go out to the home and investigate those allegations to figure out if they are true or not, and if we need any services in place or court intervention.
And is that how you learned about, well, let me just ask, are you the one who drafted the petition that's before the court today?
I did.
Okay. And as an investigator, is that how you learned about the allegations contained in the petition?
Yes.
Okay. What sort of methodology did you employ during your investigation of this case?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by that?
Did you speak with law enforcement? Did you speak with parents? Have you interviewed children? Any collateral contacts, anything of that sort?
Yes, I have spoke to both of the parents in the case. I have also either interviewed or attempted to interview all of the children. I have spoke with relatives and other collateral contacts that have been involved with the family.
Would you generally say that the parents are cooperative with you?
No, they're not.
Can you give us a little bit of background about what the original CPS complaint that the department received was on this case?
Yes, so I received my first investigation with the family end of March, I believe it was the 21st, regarding concerns of meth use in the home and meth production. There were also concerns that there were 2 other individuals in the home that were living in a trailer in the backyard that was also producing meth. At that time of the complaint, Cynthia was already out of the home with 4 of the children, and 3 of the children were still residing with the father in the home.
Did you attempt to go to the home where the father was with the other children?
Yes, I did go to the home. The father would not let me in the home. He did not want to go over the allegations, would not drug screen, would not safety plan. He did let me speak with the 2 older children, and I saw the youngest child that was in his care, but he would not let me attempt to speak to him.
Okay. And were there any other concerns during your investigation that you had about the well-being of the children?
They were very sick at the beginning of my investigation. At the time, it was, when I received my allegations, it was believed to be due to meth exposure. The allegations indicated that one of the children were throwing up blood. After receiving the investigation, Cynthia did take her 4 kids to the hospital, and they did not test positive for meth, but they did test, a couple of them did test positive for the flu. And then when I requested the father to take the children to the hospital, he said he would, but he didn't complete that until about, I believe it was 5 days after I requested him to.
And and 5 days later, were the children positive for any meth at that time?
They were not.
Can you talk a little bit more about when the concerns regarding domestic violence came to your attention?
When I received my first set of allegations and Cynthia was already out of the home, family members have brought up concerns of domestic violence. And Cynthia indicated to me that they do have a domestic violence history, but she was not willing to speak on it at that time. She did say that Josh locked her in the house for 3 days and she lost her job because he wasn't letting her leave. But she would not go into detail about the domestic violence.
When did you receive the complaint regarding domestic violence?
That was, I believe it was April 2nd or April 3rd.
And how did you investigate that new complaint?
So I went out to the home and there was no answer. One of my coworkers ended up making contact for me with Cynthia, and she did not want to speak about the domestic violence. I did talk to the jail, and Josh was bonded out by his mother and had bond conditions of no contact with Cynthia. But there were other concerns of people coming to me saying that Josh was back in the home.
Did you speak with law enforcement that was involved in the domestic violence incident?
I did.
And did they have concerns about whether Miss Knapp was a victim of domestic violence?
They did have concerns. She had lots of bruises on her that they took pictures of. And she claimed that they were from Josh, that he has assaulted her multiple times since she moved back into the home. And that at least one of the instances, there was a child that witnessed it.
When you spoke with law enforcement, was there any indication that the individuals living on the property had a history of any criminal charges involving meth?
I don't remember if it was specifically meth, but both of the individuals that were living in the backyard did have previous drug charges or warrants for their arrest.
And you indicated that it was reported from law enforcement, at least one of the children had witnessed the domestic violence. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry, witnessed what?
The domestic violence.
Okay.
Were you able to speak with that child?
I did attempt to speak with her, but she did not want to talk to me.
Would any of the children talk to you?
No, they wouldn't. Not after the initial investigation. With the new allegations, when I tried to talk to them again, they wouldn't speak with me.
As recent as the 8th, your petition indicates that there was also another complaint received. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
We received a new set of allegations that Josh was back in the home. There was another domestic violence incident. There wasn't a lot of detail about it, but saying that it was not reported anywhere, and that Josh kicked one of the children in their back and left an injury.
Were you able to confirm that, whether there was an injury?
I went to speak with the child and she wouldn't talk to me at all, so I was not able to confirm it.
And because, were you able to confirm anything in this investigation?
Not yet.
And as of today, do the parents recognize any problems in their home?
No, they don't.
And has there been any indication that domestic violence is not an issue?
Sorry, can you please repeat that?
Yeah, I think that I worded it very awkwardly as well. Has mom indicated that domestic violence didn't happen?
She did. Okay. I spoke to her today, and she informed me that the domestic violence incident did not happen, and she would be speaking to the prosecutor about getting the charges dropped.
And that's despite law enforcement indicating that they saw bruising on her. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you briefly elaborate what you believe the substantial risk of harm is to the children if there is no court intervention in this matter?
Currently, without cooperation of the family, we are unable to prove whether the allegations are true or not. And having allegations of meth use and meth production and domestic violence in the home is very detrimental to the children's safety, along with concerns of violating the no contact order that multiple individuals have come forward about. And the mom originally said that there was domestic violence, there was bruises, and now she would like to get those charges dropped and the no contact order dropped as well.
Do you believe that ordering Mr. Branham out of the home is sufficient to safeguard these children, given those dynamics?
At this point, I think there are major concerns, even with safety planning him out, but I would like the opportunity to provide services to the family. They have not had CPS involvement since 2015. And I think providing services is a good step with some cooperation.
Thank you. I have no further questions of Ms. Trout.
Questions, Mr. Brooks?
In plain English, do you want my client out of the house?
Yes, that is what we're requesting. Nothing
further.
Ms. Berger.
Thank you. Ms. Trout, how many times did you meet with my client?
I've only personally met with her once. I've had multiple phone calls. We've had a courtesy worker and one of my coworkers that have also met with her.
Okay. And the allegation of being locked out of the house, did that come directly from my client to you?
Yes, it did.
And do you know what meeting that was at?
It was a phone call that I had. It was one of our first or second phone calls.
Okay. And doesn't the petition state that the home was inspected and there was no meth or meth production found?
It was inspected by law enforcement a couple weeks after we spoke to the family, and they were able to make it through the house.
Okay, when did you first speak to the family?
The exact date, I believe, was March 21st. And law enforcement wasn't able to get into the home until April 2nd.
So approximately 2 weeks later?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the effects of methamphetamine production on physical things like property?
I am not personally familiar with the details of it.
Do you know if the law enforcement that inspected the home was?
Yes.
And so if there were things that indicated that there had been meth production in the last 2 weeks, you think they would have indicated that?
I'm not sure. I would think that they would, but I don't want to speak on that.
But they didn't?
They didn't know anything in the police report.
And you said that you have not been able to confirm any of the allegations, is that correct?
Correct.
If you're not able to confirm any of the allegations, what makes this rise to such a high level where you're asking for jurisdiction?
Because there have been a lot of red flags throughout the investigation, not cooperating by parents or the children telling us that they don't want to talk to us anymore. Multiple outside people have told us that they're violating bond conditions. So even though we haven't been able to see it ourselves, there's enough warning signs that we would like to step in before we are able to prove and something worse happens.
And currently, do you know where her husband is residing?
No, he would not disclose where he's staying to me.
But do you believe him to be staying in the marital home?
I do.
So you think that they're still living together?
Correct.
Have any department workers witnessed that?
They have not.
Are either parent working?
I do not know.
And have you been able to confirm the bond conditions?
I was able to call the district court and confirm it, but they would not provide me a copy.
Okay, so you were able to verbally confirm?
Yes.
No further questions, thank you.
Ms. Heiss, will you tell me the part of your investigation about the children being truant from school?
So I spoke to the school and the children have missed over 20 days. A truancy officer reached out to me yesterday saying that the school would like truancy to start getting involved with the family due to missing so many days. There have been a couple doctor's notes regarding them, but it has not excused a good portion of their absences. It's only a few days.
So what you're asking for is time to put services in place so that the family can be reunified at the end of your work.
Correct.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for your testimony. May return to your seat. Anyone else you'd like us to hear from?
Your Honor, given the agreement, I'm just going to leave it at that for purposes of the removal component, and would reserve the questioning for our next hearing date.
All right, anyone you'd like me to hear from, Mr. Brooks?
No, Your Honor, I wouldn't.
Ms. Berger?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Heiss?
No witnesses. Thank you.
Very well. Comments in closing, Ms. We've got Troy Tipton on the brain because you said he was going to separate.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this juncture, it is just a probable cause standard. So that is the possibility that one of the allegations in the petition are true, and I know that relates to the authorization, but continuing for the removal request of a parent, we have to indicate that a petition was filed under the juvenile code, which it has been, and that there's probable cause to believe the parent committed the abuse or neglect. And in this case, there is law enforcement involved that witnessed injuries on mom, and considerable information from other sources that there is domestic violence in the home, that the children are there, or at least one has witnessed it, and perhaps even experienced it themselves. So we would ask that condition be met, and then also that the presence in the home of the person alleged to have committed the abuse.
Can you slow down, please? Thanks. I'm missing. It's just as it comes through the microphone over here, it's kind of flowing together.
The presence in the home of the person who had alleged to have committed the abuse or neglect presents a substantial risk of harm to the children's life, physical health, or mental well-being. This court is very well apprised of the adverse effects of witnessing domestic violence in the home. In addition to that, the physical safety components are also there. You know that there was verbal confirmation of the bond conditions, and as I stated earlier, this is not believed to be sufficient at this time to safeguard this family. And I know that there's frustration in this process, but I believe that this is what our juvenile code was drafted to do. This is a mandatory petition given the Category 1 status, and even if it were Category 2, we would still be required to file this petition given the lack of engagement and cooperation from the parents. The thing that we have to determine today is if these children can be safe without further intervention. And I believe that given the information we heard today, the risk is too high to not intervene at this time. So I would ask the court to continue to authorize this petition pending further preliminary hearing and order the father out of the home at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
Well, let's see. I've heard a lot of words here, but I haven't heard anybody who say, yes, I can definitely say either A, I saw the domestic violence, or B, I was the victim of domestic violence. Borrowing language from the criminal case law, was a crime committed, and was there probable cause to believe my client committed the crime? I know it's not totally opposite to this case, but it seems like a reasonable standard for this court to use. There's nothing that says a crime's been committed. Nothing, not even secondhand information. We believe maybe there's been a crime committed. There's somebody, the neighborhood says they think so. Nobody said, I am a victim of physical abuse. I don't know what you could base this decision to evict my client on. Nothing. It's error. Thank you.
Ms. Berger?
Your Honor, I believe the only thing the agency is asking for at this point is the removal of Mr. Brooks' client from the home, not my client from the home, so we don't have anything else to add.
Your Honor, the source of the information came mostly from the mother, who has who claims to have been a historical victim of domestic violence. She is a credible source. I have concerns leaving the children in the home. However, because this may be a Native American family, I think the active efforts require us to do as Ms. Trout asked, which is leave the children in the home with one parent, the mother, and see if active efforts can't prevent removal of the rest of the children. I'm not really sure based on the history. We know the cycles and patterns of domestic violence, and we know that there are times of better days, and sometimes people can be influenced to recant, and we know these things. We just want access to bring everybody's information up to speed so that the children aren't harmed by lack of information, lack of parent education. We can't rely on those bond conditions. I'd ask you to make the order in this case that dad be removed temporarily until we can get to adjudication and get the case going. Thank you.
Well, before we go into the findings, thank you for raising an issue that I did need to revisit. Mr. Brooks, did you talk with your client about whether or not he has Native American heritage?
I have not.
Okay.
But I think, wait a minute. Yes, maybe I did.
Yes, we did.
And I believe the answer was no.
Mr. Branham, do you have any reason to believe that you are a member of a Native American band or tribe, or you or your children would be eligible for membership?
Absolutely not. I even did 23andMe, and I'm Irish, British, and Polish.
Thank you.
And I believe Cynthia is the same thing. She had the 23andMe done as well.
Your Honor, my client indicated that there is a possibility of Native American heritage through her paternal side. So I do think it needs to be explored.
All right. Have you supplied those names to Ms. Trout for purposes of exploration?
I've not.
Okay. Do you have those, Ms. Trout?
I do not.
Would you mind sharing them?
Sure.
Ms. Trout, you have a couple of names there. You don't have to share them, but do you have enough information, do you believe, to make your inquiry?
There's a little more information that I would need, but I can ask once we are done.
Ms. Berger, are you comfortable staying so that your client can have you there to advise her during that process?
Yes.
Thank you. Very well. The court does find all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's hearing. I do acknowledge that this petition was filed and served today. The issues that were raised, however, are not new to the family. Many of them constitute what has formed the basis for a criminal charge against one of the parents in this particular case. One of the issues that will need to be explored in the future is whether or not the domestic violence allegations are mutual, or whether or not the parent who's been characterized as a survivor of those incidents is also a perpetrator or simply a survivor, and whether or not there are any additional risks associated with her as a parent. As of today, I cannot put my finger exactly on a reason to say that Ms. Cynthia Knapp should be subject to the jurisdiction of the court. I'll look forward to additional proofs when we come back for the next prelim. As it relates to Mr. Branham, he's expressed the desire to retain his own private counsel. And although I have a lot of confidence in Mr. Brooks, I do want to allow him the opportunity to secure his own private counsel and both parents to review the petition more in depth and to formulate a position between now and when we come back for the next preliminary hearing that's been scheduled as April 16th at 10 a.m. I share the concerns raised here today on behalf of the children, but I also have to acknowledge, as the department has, and even the parents have, that there are bond conditions currently that prohibit Mr. Branham from being around the children, from being in the home at this time. And I'm going to allow that to remain the only safety provisions that will be in place until we return here April 16th at 10 o'clock to explore further. Good luck. Please make sure you follow those bond conditions, and we'll see you back here. This prelim from last week. We had adjourned to allow the parties to further discuss what's been happening and whether or not they wanted to voluntarily do any services. Or a number of things to be addressed between when we were here last, and they're all contained in the order. But anyway, let's get into it after appearances, beginning with our guardian ad litem.
Lee Heiss, lawyer guardian ad litem for the children.
Good morning, Troy Tippett on behalf of MTHHS.
Hannah Trout with DHS.
Michael Brooks, I represent the father of 4 of the children and putative father of a 5th one, Joshua Branham. Excuse me.
Joshua Branham.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ariel Berger here on behalf of Mother Cynthia Knapp, who I believe is in the courtroom today.
Ms. Knapp? Very good. Yes, she is here with us. All right. Well, I'm Mr. Tipton. I know you weren't here last time. Mr. Brooks, any update from your client's perspective on how he may wish to proceed?
Well, I know he's been looking around for a privately retained attorney. Apparently that's not working out very well. So it looks like I'll be in it for the duration. And he wants a trial. I have recommended, and he agrees with me. I've told him he has a right to a jury trial, and but we want a bench trial.
All right, very good. I can look into scheduling that. Would you confirm whether or not you would like me to read the allegations of the petition onto the record for him today?
He does not need to hear that. He can read, he understands, he denies that they're accurate.
Thank you. All right, very good. Same questions for you, Ms. Berger.
Thank you, Your Honor. My client, too, is requesting a bench trial. She, however, would like to start voluntary services in the meantime so she can get a jump start on any of those requested services by the agency. But we read the petition together. She has a copy of it, and we would waive a formal reading at this time.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Tipton, one of the issues last time that the department had raised was whether or not there needed to be a prohibition against Mr. Joshua Branham being at the home. I determined at that time that the bond conditions on his criminal case were sufficient to ensure the safety of the children. But there had been a few allegations that he was not following those and that maybe a secondary order could be useful. I don't know if your worker has any further detail or if there have been any additional violations that she would want to make us aware of today so that I would need to review that particular finding or not. So that's a question for you and Ms. Trout.
Your Honor, we don't have any additional information. We believe that the prosecutor is still going forward with this case and that the no contact order would be sufficient in the criminal matter.
And if there are any violations, please keep track of that. I think it's circuit court that you go to ask for updates on that now. So if there's any violations, please make sure you bring those to my attention. All right, Mr. Brooks, any other preliminaries today?
No, just schedule a trial date.
Ms. Berger?
Nothing additional, Your Honor.
Ms. Heiss?
Your Honor, the legal parentage of all the children, is that being researched?
I see that there's been an order for DNA testing for PAC. Mr. Verena to determine paternity. Is that underway, Ms. Trout?
I texted the mother and asked her to bring birth certificates today. I don't know if she had a chance to do that. They both state that he is the father of all the children, so I don't know if DNA testing will be necessary.
Well, we would need an affidavit of parentage, not a birth certificate, or that DNA testing in order to show that's.
Then we can get the DNA testing underway.
You can also check the, I think there's a way to look up whether or not there's an affidavit of parentage on file.
I requested those, but they only had a few of the children. They didn't have all of them.
Thank you. All right.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay. All right. I have the afternoon of June 11th available right now. If you wish to, if you think it's going to take more than an afternoon, I can look for a full day. What are your thoughts, Mr. Brooks?
You've tried enough cases with me to know that's plenty of time for me.
Ms. Berger?
Works for me.
Ms. Heiss?
It works for me.
Mr. Tipton, it doesn't look like Ms. Thomas will be out that day, but if she is and we need to clarify your schedule, would you be able to appear in the event that she's not available?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we'll set a bench trial then for both parents commencing at 1:30 on Tuesday, June 11th. It does not appear the court interventions need to be modified at this time. We'll simply wait to see the update on the DNA testing, as well as whether or not there's been any further developments in the criminal matter. Ms. Trout, we'll expect you to work with Ms. Knapp on voluntary services so that she can take advantage of that between now and when she comes back. Is there anything I can do to help you on that point?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Unless there's any questions, that's all for today.